What do you think is the best way to deter first-time offenders from a life of criminal activity?
I'm going to answer the question first and then go into my background. The best way to do on a first-time offenders, it depends whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor. Felonies are, of course, the most serious crimes, and depending upon whether it's a violent crime or non-violent crime. If it's a non-violent crime, normally if there is a diversion program in place monitored by the district attorney, that is an alternative. If it's not an alternative, then one thing is to put them on probation. The district attorney will have a plea bargain, place them on active supervised probation for a period of time, and they have special conditions where they have to meet in order to stay on probation. If they violate their probation, it can be revoked and they go to jail. You're giving them incentive to do good. You're giving them incentive to do the right thing. You're giving them incentive to improve themselves. Sometimes you have to, on probation, get a GED if you don't have a high school diploma. You have to stay out of trouble. That is the best incentive for a first offender. Now, in regards to who I am, I'm Burley Doge. I'm a candidate for District Judge for Division F in Acadia Parish. I would venture to say that a majority of the people in this room are probably St. Andrew Parish citizens. Of course, we are presently physically in Acadia Parish. I'm originally from Basile, graduated from Basile High School in 1974. From there, I went on to LSUE the first summer, majored in law enforcement, went on to Baton Rouge and graduated with a Bachelor of Law Enforcement degree in 1978. After that, I was employed as an insurance investigator and adjuster for several years, started my own private investigation firm, and after several years, I decided to return to school, graduated from law school with honors, and have been practicing law primarily in Acadia Parish out of Crowley for the last 22 years. I have a very extensive civil law practice handling personal injury, family law, property disputes, commercial law. Most of the items that are on the civil court docket I have litigated. I've also been a public defender over 20 years, handling primarily felony cases out of Acadia Parish. I'm a certified capital defender for the 15th Judicial District Court, covering the 3 parishes. I have represented people and litigated first-degree murder, capital cases, aggravated rape, sex crimes, drug crimes. I have several trials, criminal trials under my belt, where I picked juries. And of the several trials that I've had 2 acquittals. I think what's most important in a district judge, first off, is a thorough knowledge of the law. You have to get that by experience. We've had attorneys up here that spoke of their experience and how long they've been practicing. You don't get experience just by reading a book. You get experience and knowledge of the law by doing. Being in that courtroom day in, day out, trying jury trials, picking juries. Because if you make one little error as a judge, it could cost someone their life or their livelihood. Thank you.
With so many young people on the streets facing criminal charges, what plans, if any, do you have of trying to educate and reform these people before they become statistics?
Thank you. My name is Mike Goss. I want to tell you I'm really excited to be here. I want to thank the Chamber and LSUE for hosting this, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight to learn about all the candidates. I believe that our youth deserve a second chance. I believe that our youth needs a good education. We need to catch problems early, and we can address them that way. I think that we need an alternative to saddling young persons with a conviction or with a record that's going to prevent them from being a productive member of society. I believe in second chances, and especially with our youth. But you know, those that want to come into our community, peddle drugs to our children, and do harm to our families, those people need to be dealt with accordingly. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Crowley. I went to Notre Dame High School. I graduated from UL Lafayette, back when it was still called USL. I went on to law school in Loyola in New Orleans, and I graduated. While I was in law school, I worked for a criminal court judge, and I worked my way through school, and I was fortunate enough to have be really successful in my academics, and I was on the law review in New Orleans, Loyola. When I got out, I went to Lafayette and worked at DiMaggio and Wright for a number of years, for almost 11 years. After that, I went into private practice for myself for a little bit of time, and then I went on to work in the assessor's office. I was chief deputy assessor, as well as assessor for 2 years in Acadia Parish. After leaving the office, I've been a legal services director for a large software company. I want to tell you, I believe that our next judge should be a conservative person, someone who's going to be a guardian for your constitutional rights. I believe our next judge should be someone who's going to protect your Second Amendment gun rights. I've been a long-time gun owner. I'm a member of the NRA, and I firmly believe in your right to keep and bear arms, not only for personal protection, but just for sport. I believe our next judge should be pro-life. I'm not ashamed to say that. I believe our next judge should be someone who has a proven track record of involvement in our community. I believe our next judge should be someone who has a proven track record of honesty and integrity and character, both inside and outside of the courtroom. With your assistance, with your help, I will bring conservative principles and family values to the court. I want to humbly ask for your support, and I want to thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
What do you think is the best way to deter first-time offenders from a life of criminal activity?
Good evening, everybody. That was weak. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. I am David Smith. I'm running for District Judge, 15th Judicial District, Division F. The question is, first-time offenders, what do we need to do to deter that, correct? Correct. Okay. Education is fundamental. I know you stand up here and hear all of us say, education, education, education. Let me tell you what I've done as far as education to help the problem. I truly believe education is fundamental. This is not just my speech. For the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it may be, I didn't sit there and count because at the time I wasn't doing it for political office. But at the time, I offered and volunteered my time. It wasn't a requirement of the DA's office. It wasn't a requirement of my wife. It wasn't a requirement of my job. I volunteered my time to go around to Iota, Midland, Church Point, Notre Dame, Crowley, Muir, Rain, all the area schools in Acadia Parish. Okay? Made my rounds, especially during prom, graduation, gave speeches on the effects of drinking and driving, the effects of drug abuse, education. If we get the education and everybody takes an active part, it's easy for everybody to sit in a chair and say, education, and then pass it on to somebody else. If somebody gets up and takes a stand and goes and does it, then you have an active part in educating our youth. Education is fundamental. You have to train these young kids to understand the drug abuse problem that we're having. If we get them to understand that, we take an active role, and I know in today's lives it's hard. It's very hard. Mom and dad both work. Grandparents are often seen about the children. Grandparents don't want to sit there and educate the youth or go give speeches at schools. Take a day off one time a year. Don't expect to pay. Volunteer your time. Offer if you're a drug counselor or a school counselor or a nurse. Go sit down with a guidance counselor and offer your time. It makes a difference. Since we've been giving these speeches, and I'm not saying it's attributable because it was from me and some other assistant DAs that volunteered our time to do this, that I can remember we have had no more graduation fatal accidents or prom accidents in Acadia Parish since we started. Now, a little bit about myself. I am David Smith again. I'm from Church Point. I am running for judge. I am married to Alicia Richard. We have 5 children. I am the only candidate with judicial experience already. I am the magistrate in Dusson for the last 14 years, the magistrate in Church Point for the last 8 years, and I'm the only candidate that has worked with law enforcement for the past 12 years as a state prosecutor. With that, if that's what you want in your next judge, then vote for me, David Smith, number 62.